everyone. Welcome to another episode of Bro. I am the Stone Genius. You know me. Sorry. So let's just get into this whole thing. So these are going to be, first of all, let's talk about these shows. So I did one yesterday, and then I had a regular show come out with Mitch Gold, audio only, no thumbnail. Sorry. It is a good show. If you want to learn about me and my streaking, first hour of the show, did we talk about it for an hour? Probably yes. And then second hour and a half, we talked about his cancer diagnosis, what that's meant to him, what it's meant to his family, kind of how he's dealt with that. I recently had a medical condition as well called a stroke. I feel like I need to say a medical condition because with me, if I just say I had a stroke, we know where people are going with this. I need to move this camera. I feel like I'm looking over my glasses a lot, which I'm 57. Don't care. Oh, let's just jump into that since I mentioned 57. So today's episode is called Unapologetic. I am even more so now than I was pre-stroke, just because I don't have the time. I'm not even going to I will walk away. Like before, I used to tune out. Like I would stand there and we would make eye contact as you were saying, but people would know. There are certain people, they would just be like, okay, you've tuned out. Congratulations on figuring that out. Now I'm not even going to just stand there. I apologize. First of all, it's not my fault that your story or whatever you're telling me or describing to me isn't better. That's on you. So let's talk about, pop-up shows. If I do a pop-up show, which this is now 2 days in a row. So did one yesterday, did one today, had a regular. So every Tuesday and Thursday, you will have a regular show that should be there and ready for you whenever after midnight central, I believe on Tuesday and Thursday, you will have those shows available for you. So 2 a week. These pop-up shows will be, I've written 3 pages of notes this morning. So I was like, I will never get to these. If I write another 3 pages tonight or tomorrow, I'm never going to get to these notes unless I do them. So we're going to call them, I was going to call it a pop-up show because it's kind of what it is. And then I was like, I should do it to have you all, and this is a great time, we're only 3 minutes in, to say, please subscribe, hit the notifications. So the notifications will help you out if you have the ability to listen live. I'm going to tie this into yesterday's show. I think after the stroke, I'm tying more stuff in, or I'm smoking less, and that's cleared my mind. Anyway, one of the first t-shirts, we will be selling those soon. There'll be some subscriptions. But the reason I mention notifications, if I do a pop-up show, which I'm going to try to, since I don't have anything else going on in my life besides physical therapy, is I'm going to try to do them at noon. Because, and Bobby will tell you this, after 29 years, okay, on her list, probably top 20. Like a nooner with me is probably top 20. With my list, that would be like top 3, definitely. Because there's night, morning, and then nooner. So it would make top 3. To me, I think that even though I know that she enjoys the nooners, it's probably top 20, maybe top 15. If I thought about it a lot, I could probably nail it down. It's not. I know it's well behind Puzzles. Puzzles is up near the top. I don't know if it is the top. Probably spending time with our kids would be the top. It's Puzzles is up there. So I'm going to try when I do. So if I know I'm going to do a pop-up show, a nooner, then I will, if you have notifications, you'll get that notification and you will be able to watch on YouTube at the THEE Stone Genius, at the Stone Genius Podcast, at the Stone Genius under their podcast listings. You'll be able to watch it free. Eventually, these will go behind a paywall for a short while. It's kind of like when a movie goes to the theaters and then it goes to pay-per-view or whatever. It'll be the pay-per-view period. So if you like someone, you hear someone, you want to hear that nooner story so bad, get your notifications. Subscribe, hit notifications, and like all that fun stuff. But the notifications will allow you to know when I'm doing a show because I should know a few hours in advance, and then you'll know that it's noon central. Whatever you may have to do some math. Jason in the UK, -6. So noon is going to be dinner time. I will just say maybe not all of my nooner topics are going to be, if you're 6 hours ahead and you are at dinner time, a meal time at that juncture of your day, 18th hour of your day. Not all these topics. Like today's, I think will be fine. Maybe, probably. I don't know. But here's my suggestion. Don't listen. Now that I think about it, don't do the notifications so you can't listen to it live. That way you have to subscribe. I don't know whether I'll get back to this level again, but there was one time where I was literally telling people from the date we recorded to the date it was released was going to be 2.5, 3 months. I think nearly 3 months was the longest people were waiting, which is a good thing for me. Yeah, but that would allow you, if there's someone you hear, like if you had neuroendocrine cancer, which is what today's other episode with Mitch Gold is about, partially about the 1 hour mark, we started talking about that. But if you wanted to hear that and didn't want to wait a week, 2 weeks, 4 weeks, if you're going to be a Patreon member, and I figured this out, I'm sure I will, you will be able to listen to that show. You won't have to listen to it live. You'll be able to go see that. And then once again, we'll have an OnlyFans account, which will be totally different. I will guarantee, I will not guarantee, I will say outside of someone that is like thinking in their mind, human centipede at dinner time, because what I may talk about is butt stuff, and you don't want to hear about that dinner time unless you're a human centipede type person. And if you are, do I want to interview you? Yeah, I do actually. Do I want to interview you remotely from the comfort of your own, I was going to say home, but I feel cell may be a better description of where you're at. So today's episode, Unapologetic. I'm unapologetic about where this show is going. I'm also unapologetic about my themes, and I know that precludes some people. I talked to Hamad Zaidi, who will be on the program again soon. He is a movie mogul, started a sports channel, Rise, RYZ Sports. You can find it on like Samsung TVs and I think Google TV. So you're getting you can find it a lot of places. He started that, but he told me, because we were talking yesterday, we talked for about an hour and a half while he was on the road, Bluetooth. I wasn't on the road. I don't go anywhere. And we're talking about how there's someone recently I can't be on your show because it has the word stoned in it. Never once have I had someone say, I can't be on it because it says genius. Are there a lot of people that probably should have precluded themselves because the title says genius? Probably. But I had them anyway. And so he was just like, he goes, don't ever change your show. And I don't want to do that. So I know that may prevent some sponsors. I know. Here's my thing. This is the way I explain this, is that if someone is on the Joe Rogan show, their name isn't Joe Rogan. If you're on the Stone Genius podcast, you are not a stone genius. You don't have to be a stoner or a genius. And I will tell you that the prevalence of stoners to genius is far greater. That number. Now, do they understand this podcast all the time? No. But here's the thing I've learned about stoners, being one myself, often, even if the option is in your hand, where you could be like, oh, I'm going to I want to find another podcast. You don't do it because you're a stoner. So I got that going for me. But no, I'm not going to change the name. I may do other stuff. But Nooner, and that's not going to be any better. Like, I would think that people would have more trouble with Nooner with Roe. I think Bobby would probably be on board for this. Nooner with Roe. And I become a male escort. Yeah, see, I'm going to talk about this unapologetic. We'll just get into it. Or let's get into something else first. So I'm going to say that because I was talking about age 57. I'm 57. And I am very fine with how I look at 57. And I will tell you the other thing that I'm very proud of at 57 is I can dance to the song Genuine by Pony the way it's meant to be danced to. And if you're unfamiliar with the song, or if I don't understand what that means, watch Magic Mike. And then you'll understand how that song could be danced to. And then you'll understand why Bobby is stuck with me for 29 years. Because there's a lot of things. There's like a lot of red flags. Like the type of red flag, too soon. In the Pacific Palisades, I'm sorry, I know too soon, meaning that they were on fire. Like I still have a lot of red flags. Like people are like, Bobby, hello. And she's like, I know, but if you saw him dance to Genuine, you would know why. I do know how to do that. And I don't have a problem with that. Let's see. I actually was color coding stuff today. So let's try to keep the pink together, which I don't know. See, yes, I understand what Bobby means. Most of my, you've heard of people saying they see life through rose-colored glasses. Well, I see life through pink-colored glasses. It's just the pink is like sexual. I'll give you a second to figure that one out. Okay. Anyway, let's see. The pink. Okay, so I had made a comment. So here's my deal. When I make a comment, like short people, there's the thing, short people, right? And, there's better. That's what I had yesterday. So here's the deal. It's not like, so I was adopted. My mother is 5. I'm not sure she's still 5 foot. She'll claim to be 5'1", but she's 85. And I know someone, Mitch, who's on his show today, told me that when he got measured during his treatment, 2 inches he had lost. And I will tell you, no guy probably wants to lose 2 inches anywhere. I got a sound for that. Sorry, I was late with it. And my sister, she always claimed 4'11", which I think is funny because I think she knew no one was going to believe 5 foot. Like if you're like 5 foot, no, not 5 foot. So I think she claimed. And she's older than I am. And I would say there seems to be a greater discrepancy in our sizes than there was before. Now, I'm not saying that I'm not 6'7" now. I am not. But I could have grown. I did not. Or she could have shrunk. She did, definitely. It was her, not me. And so anywho, my thing is so because of how I think of everything of a sexual nature. You're welcome, Bobby. I mean, I know that Bobby complains about, so I think I said I was going to read, and, I probably should have asked her whether I could read our text first or not. And so these are the types of texts that we have debates on. Like, we don't have a lot of debates. Actually, we might. I don't know. I had a stroke, so maybe I forget them. So these are the texts that I sent her this morning. And there's a blizzard. She might not come home tonight. She may stay at the doctor's house that she works for tonight and not come home. So she works for a woman doctor, and then Amy, and then there's Zach, her husband. And I would say I do not want Bobby to be in a threesome with me or anyone else. That being said, if she was like, hey, I ended up like I said, I'm not for it, but I would be like, at least you had taste when you did it. I mean, so she may not come home because she's staying at the doctor's. There's still going to be a man there. It's just the doctor she works for is. So here's the text. I said, if you do come home tonight, because remember, blizzard here in Kansas City. I go, if you do come home tonight, you're getting your salad tossed. Now, Bobby and I have so she prefers a more toned down version. So the follow-up, I did not hear back from her, by the way. The follow-up was, and saying it like that, is that really better than saying, I'm going to eat your ass tonight? And it's a legitimate question. So like for me, who does not get my ass eaten, and I'm totally fine with that. Like if someone said, I'm going to toss your salad, I would know what they're talking about. Okay. Bobby, like today is actually Tuesday. And there is, I'll say it, Pizza Shop. They should be a sponsor. I'm going to approach them. I'm going to say, you should be a sponsor. I talk about you all the time. They'll go, what episodes? Oh, I'll go, oh, you don't want to listen to the episodes. So Pizza Shop on Tuesday, they have their special and you get pink milady salad. So see me asking Bobby, telling her she's going to get her salad tossed. She may have thought I was just extending a courtesy at dinner time where I was literally mixing her salad up. So see, this is different than this. See how that's different? This different than this. And now that I'm talking about that, I had written this down right after this as well. I know we're talking about size, but since we're talking about asses and salad tossing and the such, I go, some girls can twerk. If you can twerk, if your man, your significant other, your whomever is eating you from behind and you can twerk, I would say do your best to do that every once in a while. And this has to do with breathing. There are times so when I'm at physical therapy, sometimes I'm concentrating so hard on the balance or the position that I'm doing. They'll go, you forget to breathe. You forget to breathe. Well, sometimes you do that when you're in the performance of, let's be nice, like Bobby wants, tossing someone's salad. And the problem with that is if you forget about that, by the time you realize that you need to breathe, then it could be like really iffy. Like if you don't get to air immediately, there could be some bad things happening. Like if Bobby would have taken me to the hospital, people would have just assumed this is how I stroked out. Lack of oxygen to the brain. That is not how I stroked out, by the way. And so if you can twerk, you can let some air in that person back there is very much going to enjoy. I mean, not only is it refreshing because you're actually taking a breath and you can continue on with your performance, it's also good because sometimes it's a cool rush of air. I'm just saying. I was going to say, I'm not saying it ain't hot back there, but it is. It is. Okay, so let's get back. So here's the deal. Any girl under 5'7" and any guy under 6'1", and I would have said 6 foot, but all those liars that are like 5'10" or 5'11" and they say they're 6 foot. So I'm not. Someone who is 5'10" is not going to pass for 6'1". Like, I don't even know how they think they can pass for 6 foot if they're 5'10", because I will tell you, as someone who's 6'5", I cannot pass for 6'7". But see, that's how rarely you guys interact with tall people like myself, or what I call God's chosen. So anyway, and here's the deal. Always remember how I treat you. Now, here's the deal. I enjoy sleeping with Bobby. It's been like my favorite pastime the last 29 years. That being said, I may treat you well, and sometimes I may forget. And so I was talking to a guy that I worked with, and he was short. So here's what I was doing. I thought he was 5'7". So he was like on the bottom end of what I would consider passable for a girl. And when I say passable for a girl, you can fill in the blank. We'll get in that here in a second. Maybe we won't. Anyway, we were talking one day and I said something about him, and I said something about being 5'7", and he goes, "You think I'm 5'7"? And I was like, "I don't know. How tall are you?" He goes, "I'm 5'4". Hold on. No. And I was like amazed because I didn't care. So here's the thing. Once you're under 6'1" as a guy, I don't care. Oh, I do need to go back to this note because I've asked him to be on the podcast. And he has said that he would, although he may change his mind here. I don't think he is 6'1", our oldest, their boyfriend. However, he does play professional hockey in Europe. And so when he's on skates, he would seem taller than that. I just hope that I meet him off of skates. And here's the deal also. My opinion doesn't matter. What matters is Mo, how happy she is. That's what matters. I don't give it. My opinion doesn't matter. I mean, I could be over the moon for someone. If you don't like them, then whatever. So, yeah. So, and this is funny because actually we just passed Valentine's Day. And on the 13th of February, 1996, and you're like, that's a very specific date. Did you give up drugs or alcohol on that date? Is that the day you met Bobby? No, that was actually the 3rd because we already had celebrated that. This was during the 4th. So the 3rd, the 4th, I saw her again on the 4th in the morning and again that evening, and she was not happy. We can talk about that sometime. I'll include her in that story sometime. anyhow, so from the 4th to the 14th, it was like Under Siege 2, Dark Territory with Steven Seagal. There was no contact during that time at all. So on the 13th, and I remember this, I went out with Bobby and I did quite a bit of drinking and quite a bit of karaoke early on in my drinking. And remember, at this point, I was 27 years old. Bobby's learned some of the stories. I was who I am now without a family. And if you don't know what that means, then you don't have a family. So this guy keeps staring at me. And I'm like, why is it? Because he's like looking at me like, and I'm just like, and I walk over and I go, you got something to say to me? Or I saw you looking at me or something. I didn't make it highly aggressive. I made it sound, I identify the points that, yes, I knew that you were looking at me and I'm giving you the chance to tell me why. Okay. Like now you would have to worry, oh, does the guy have a gun in a bar? He can pull out and shoot everyone. Back then, if worse came to worse, it was fisticuffs. Now, the thing that I knew is this person was short as fuck. I mean, and I say that once again, I'm going to say somewhere under 5'10". I was going to say somewhere under 6'1", because then I'd be like, I don't care. But I know, because if they were actually in real life 6'1", and we'll get to that part of the story, they would have been like Evan, so taller than me. So my dad was a pharmacist, and pharmacists back in the day, and I'm trying to remember now because I get most of mine mail order, or I don't pick them up. Bobby does. I don't think that they used to stand up like a step from the normal public, because that made them, I don't know if that was to give, like if they were talking to someone that gave them power. I'm sure there was some psychological thing to it. But one of his coworkers, a young guy named Mike, I saw him all the time. I would see my dad, hey, Mike, what's up? And everything. But it's a full step. So it's probably 8 inches. And I went through this on yesterday's show. I don't know how far a full step is. I should figure that out because it has now come up in 2 straight shows. So it feels like I'm going to need to figure this out. Anyway, say a normal step's 8 inches, at least 8 inches. It's got to be more than 6. Let's say it's 8, if not 10, 8 inches. That means the pharmacists are 8 inches taller than what they are in real life. Well, the problem is I had never seen Mike outside the pharmacy. So this guy's looking at me. I'm like, what the? And he goes, Rodney, it's Mike Burns. And I was like, what the fuck, man? And so that, because like I said, I was just like, this guy's like staring at me pretty hard. And then I even told him, I'm like, and I wasn't trying to be a dick. I'm like, I don't think I noticed you because you were so short or something. And I don't know how tall he is. I don't know. And you know what? We could go back and this could be a Mandela effect. Mike, I may run into Mike and find out he's 6'9". He is not. He was not. I mean, he could have had a growth spurt. Now, would it be odd to have a growth spurt when you are, at the, like, I don't know, you're a pharmacist. Sorry, I'm making notes. I'm going to tell Mike. I've been trying to get him actually on the program before, and I'm going to tell him that I talked to him and at what point I talked to him, so he just wants to hear about stories. But I was surprised, but I didn't care, and that's why it wasn't like, to me, like I say, everything under 1 for a guy, it's just one. It doesn't matter if you're 6 foot or 5 foot. Like hanging out with Prince. And so there's an episode where I talk about this with someone from the Minneapolis. He was on the Minneapolis newspaper. I think he wrote a story. I don't even remember his name. I'll have to look it up. But I was talking about, it was funny. He's a beat writer and was talking about Prince. And I said in Minneapolis, and I said something about being at Prince's club. And I go, I think it was like 1991. And I was talking about it and stuff. And he's like, oh yeah, it was only open for like a couple years. And that's when it was open, everything. Like, I was like, so I didn't give a shit. I mean, Prince could be 5'2", which is what he said he was. Like between 5'2" and 6 foot, there is no difference to me. For a girl, anything from, I was just going to say up to 5'7", but here's the deal. I'm not going to say like sexually, but I'm just going to say interesting. There's a certain point where both men and women under a certain height become more interesting. And this is, see, I wish that there was a dramatic pause here, but I noticed that in the editing, I let the AI do the editing with Riverside. It cut out 15 minutes of my show. If I had any clue as to what, I have a feeling I am that silent that often. Once again, that goes back to like Bobby right now. I've talked about this to you. I say we've talked about it, like you've communicated back to me about this. Now that I mention it out loud, there have been a few of you that have, but like Bobby doesn't like eye contact. And I'm afraid at this point, while she's been vocal, she hasn't been like talkative vocal. And I am afraid, if you haven't seen Trainwreck, that it would be John Cena from the movie Trainwreck. And if you don't know what him trying to talk during sex with Amy Schumer, one of the funniest scenes. I crack up every time I see that. Like that scene is to me, and this is for Bobby, that scene is to me what Bruce Almighty teleprompter scene is to Bobby. Like if the teleprompter scene is on for Bobby, it doesn't matter what she's doing, she will stop and watch it and she will laugh. She will laugh hysterically. I will do the same for this John Cena thing. Let us. I don't think I've gotten really too far into this show. Like I've done orange and I've done pink, which sexually, not exactly sure that's the order that you want to go. But I don't know when orange is included, which order you want to go. I don't know where you want to include that. Early on, late, like at the climax, both literally and figuratively. So let's see. I need to go over to the other page. What's else on here? I got to come back to this page. Unapologetic. Oh, yeah. So some of the things that I have written down. When a certain gentleman President Trump was elected in 2016, people thought that I was against his policies, which many of them, I would say that I am. However, I grew up in the 70s and 80s when people could have different opinions and that was okay. I don't mind that people have different opinions. My problem with him was he got away with shit people wouldn't let me get away with. And that has continued on. So I feel unapologetic. And quoting a Megan Thee Stallion song, which would probably be one of the 5 artists I would quote most. I don't know what that says about me. Probably a lot. Probably not good. But you do what you're told. I do what I want to do. And see, I used to get in trouble for that. Well, I no longer give a shit. You know what? I am unapologetic. You know what? I am going to do what I want. Once again, I know I sound like a big old John Cocktoastin, and you got to be a Fletch fan to understand that reference. Or I guess eat at Moe's because they used to have the John Cocktoastin. It was a quesadilla. I miss Moe's here in Kansas City. Welcome to Moe's. And if you don't know what Moe's is, and you don't know what welcome to Moe's, I wanted the job just to yell that. Now, in retrospect, once I've had a stroke and my head can get wonky with loud sounds, probably not the job that's probably not best for me. No. So I am unapologetic. I've said this before, and you can disagree. And if you want to disagree, I don't give a shit that you disagree. But please come at me with some sort of ammunition is probably not the right term to use in America. But come at me with something. Go, well, you're not as good. You know, I feel like I am very blessed by God. I mean, fucking overly blessed by God. Like, I was so fucking good in a previous life, which a lot of people are looking at this life and they're like, well, how did you fuck it up? I don't know. I don't know what I did this life, but I am telling you, it is so good this life that I must have been amazing in a previous life. I don't know what I did. I don't know. I'm going to say this because most of my friends were growing up. I'm not sure that I was Schindler, but I'm not sure I wasn't. I know that Mitch is laughing right now, and there's probably a few other of my Jewish friends that are laughing right now, and there are Jewish people that do not know me that probably do not think that's quite as funny as I think it is. Gentile! And I don't know why that's the voice that I use, because I know how to do a Jewish accent. Believe me. Like, if you want to hear a Jewish mom, I can do that. My gosh. Tell me there were a lot of times I was in the living room, in a bedroom, something, and I was hearing a one-sided negotiation go on about maybe our plans for the evening, or why are you hanging out with a Gentile? Which, once again, I feel like as a Christian and as a genius, probably I should lead with genius, not Christian there, but they both go together in this sense. I feel like I should know, am I as a Gentile? Like, is that because I'm like genteel? Like, was that a place? And I know you're like, hold on. How did you get into Mints in the International High IQ Society? Oh my gosh. It was a long list of how I had to get in there, but I got in there. And if you're not watching this video right now and you didn't see that, that was visually funny what I just did there about my entrance into high IQ societies. Hilarious even. Now you're going to want to rewind. Now you're going to want to pay attention in the future, and I would suggest doing so. Like, sometimes I say that to Bobby during sex. Like, I know this is taking a while, but if you can just pay a little attention. Like, look in my general direction. I mean, she does. I'm just kidding. I'm not kidding about the eye contact. The eye contact. And I just thought about this. Maybe it goes back to the one story about basketball. Well, probably when Bobby saw a side of me she was unappreciative of. And I will say I'm not unapologetic about that night. I was new being a husband. I don't even know if we were married yet at that point. We could have still been, because we didn't get married to almost 2 years in, because Trinity married a year and 9 months and 2 days after we met. Math, right? So anyway, yeah, I apologize for stuff, but I am not apologetic. And I've told Bobby this, if I could do a clean slate, like if I could literally go back in time, and I know when I had to go back to 3rd grade, I would, because that's really when I start having memories. Like, I can have a few memories of 2nd grade, maybe a couple of kindergarten, which would have been early 70s, like 72. So I have some of those, but 3rd grade's where I start. And then after that, I may lose those every year. So like next year, maybe 4th grade, year after that, 5th grade. Year after that, who knows if I'm even going to be here. Anyway, I was going to say something and I forgot what I was going to say. And I could, unapologetic, doesn't matter. Let's see, girls that are twerk. I'm going to get off this page because I got to go to another page. Here's some other lyrics. The only bitch I'm in a competition with is me. Like, that's the thing. Like, if I say something, I'm not in a competition with you. I'm literally not. I rarely find a time that I am in competition with someone. Times that I felt that. And I've said this before. I have played against the number 1 draft pick in the NBA, Danny Manning. We played against each other in high school when he was at Lawrence High and I was at Shawnee Mission South. I've played against guys that played in the Final Four. Danny Manning in 88. A couple of the other guys. God, what was his name? Nate something. I think he was number 4. Nate Newton, I think was his name for KU. I mean, I played with Ricky Callaway, although I think that was a couple years later. So I played with a lot of guys from KU. I never played with Michael. I shot around with Scottie Pippen. I was very lucky because I had my friend Mitch, who's on the other podcast today, or Mike, you want to listen to this, his college roommate, when he was getting his undergrad, part of the Bulls family. Like the Bulls family. And White Sox, for that matter. Anyway, so I got very lucky. But the most talented basketball player I ever played against, and he played at New Orleans. I think he started at Lamar, went to Johnson County Community College, and I used to play with him when I would visit Kansas City or Lawrence. We would play at Robinson. I don't even know if that's still a thing. Robinson Fieldhouse up in Lawrence. And here's the one thing. And I apologize. I'm 70 and I grew up in the 70s and 80s. You'll be like, oh, change your lingo. I'm not changing my fucking lingo. And I understand. I don't mean this as when I say it as a gender, but I wasn't a fucking bitch when I played basketball, when I played sports. To me, the most satisfying thing was guarding the best player on the other team. and generally the best wanted the best. I wasn't LeBron James. That's what I'm saying. I don't think LeBron James ever has guarded the best player. Like, I always wanted to be Michael Jordan. I wanted to fucking outscore you on one end and steal the ball, block your shot, do whatever on the other end. And I'm unapologetic about that. So talking about people, so I was playing at, I don't remember what it was called then. Maybe Prairie Life, Health Plus. I don't remember what the name of the gym was. It's 103rd and Metcalf in Overland Park, Kansas. And this would have been, actually, I think this was the night of the 2000 election between Gore and Bush. Because I know I was there playing that night, and I know that this happened there, but it may have been another night. And I'm trying to remember his name. Fuck Sickles. I keep wanting to say Kenyon Weeks, but I know that's not his name. I'll probably figure it. Anyway, he played at Stanford. He played on their Final Four team when Stanford went to the Final Four. And he's from Kansas City. And we were playing a pickup game, and he had stole the ball, and he was on a breakaway. Well, I'm not going to let him just dunk or do whatever, so I'm going to challenge the shot. And I remember he went up, and I'm assuming that he was going to lay it up instead of dunk, because it's worse for him story-wise if I say that it was dunk. But I pinned the basketball against the board, and then I brought it down. I blocked him, pinned it again, and I brought it down. And he had kind of gone out of bounds, and I threw it at him. And I was like, that's weak shit. And I was like, your ball, you can have. I was pissed. I mean, I was unapologetic about that then. I mean, and people that played with me, even Bobby, because Bobby played in college, and there were times that we would go play. She would play in my men's league and stuff. So very accomplished basketball. Yeah. Her and Carissa. I don't think Amy ever played with us. Carissa used to play with us a lot too. So we would dominate. I mean, it was funny one time. I remember Bobby and I were playing, and we played by ones and twos. So inside the arc, inside the 3-point line, it's 1, outside it was 2. And we would play to 11. I told Bobby we got done with the game, and I go, we scored all the points that game. And she's like, but I only scored 1 point. I go, I know. But yeah, so I was used to, and I was unapologetic. Bobby has heard me on the court. I mean, because she doesn't like that part of that personality with me. And that's fine. And I understand that. But there would be times she may have shown up to pick me up, or I was playing pickup ball or something, and may have. I remember one time, and we were very new on our relationship when this happened. You have to remember too. So she's pregnant. She doesn't really know me. I don't know if I like this. Like, she's weighing the pregnancy, what's in her belly, against what she's seen from me. And eventually it was so long, and like, there's like a statute of limitations that passed, and she had to stick with me. I don't know exactly what happened there. Something happened. And anyway, like, a guy fouled me on a shot, and it was a 3-point shot, and I still got the shot off, and I still made the shot. So it should have been, it would have been in real play and won. Well, he's fucking screaming because I fouled you. I'm like, it doesn't fucking matter. I made the shot, and offense gets to call fouls. Now, I'm going to talk a funny story here, because this will probably all tie ins. I'm glad this isn't a short show. And I don't know. I'm used to this only having one button undone, because I'm used to wearing a tie. But now I've left this open, and I don't know. It's just strange. It'll tie into other stuff as well. And I've already talked basketball. And, well, let's just see. Let's see if I can keep this so unapologetic. So I made that shot, and I was expressive, perhaps over exuberant. And nice thing about being 6'5", you can stand up for yourself. Oh, this is what I was going to say. So because I was a white guy from the suburbs, and I want to say, because like, I have a rap song. I know, weird, right? So I have this rap song, and in it, I think there's a phrase, where I go, not afraid of the hood. And I don't think it was that. I think it was more that I was naive. Like, I would know black people, and they would take me into perhaps what they considered their environment. And I was just like, I'm fine with all. I mean, I always felt comfortable. And I was always like, I talk about Harold Pinners. I think I talked about it yesterday. I definitely am talking about it with John Humphrey next time he's on the podcast, because I would have never imagine John Humphrey. Like when he mentioned their shoes, yes, I could see him occasionally, special occasions, wearing their shoes. But I was playing basketball, and I would go to, it's funny, every time we go downtown, the court's not there any longer. There used to be a court next to a fire station, under a bridge, under the highway. Used to play there. We used to play there because it was lit. There were only a couple places that you could go play. There's a Catholic church on Main Street that we used to play in the parking lot because the parking lot lights would light the where we'd play. But I would go find, and this was not an evening place. This was a day place, Parade Park. I would say 0 of my white friends ever went there with me to play. And so, but I would go there to find good games because there was a book back in the 80s called Have Basketball Will Travel. I would tell the best places. And I tried, whenever I traveled to a different state, I did my best to find that place in that city or state. And I would try to play it and see what I was against the competition. And I always found myself, I was fine. So anyway, I go down to Parade Park. And this, I'm going to circle back and tie this into another story, which I just said about calling your own fouls. So we're playing Parade Park and we're getting ready. Once again, I know this is going to sound cocky. I can bring people on that have played basketball with me and they can tell you the story and then you can still continue not to believe it or not. So I was not next up. We would run the court. So whatever team I was on, we would fucking win. So a lot of the places I played, it wasn't next 5, it was next person and you could pick. So the losing team could come off, those 5 come off, but 4 of them could return to the court if the next guy that actually held court. Some places it was just next 5. This was next person you would hold court. And so it was very advantageous to either be fucking good so that you always got picked up or made sure that you held the court. So we were holding court and some guy comes walking up. Now, I never understood wearing jeans while playing basketball. I had some of my friends back during this time, I would ask them, I would be like, why would you wear jeans while playing basketball on a hot sunny day? And they'd be like, it doesn't bother us. And I'm like, okay, it doesn't bother me. So whatever. I get it. I mean, whatever. So anyway, we're down there and we're running, even though it's summertime, we're running shirt skins. Some places you could run 10 skins. A lot of places, especially, I do remember this day was a shirt skins. Like white people are notoriously bad, which is funny. For white people thinking all black people look alike, and I'm not kidding about this, white people, at least in the East, like if you had 10 white guys, they always wanted to have shirts and skins. Like you couldn't have, like if it was hot out, you couldn't have 10 skins playing because I don't know who's on my team. What? Are you fucking kidding me? First of all, they only needed to know I was on their team. I was caught once on a hot mic on a church recording, a church league game. There is no I in the word team, but there is an I in the word win. Keep fucking passing me the ball. And if you're like, did you just embellish that? Because this was a church. Oh, no. My cursing, I don't change. One of the reasons, like, God will probably be like, I didn't really care that you cussed, but like, during church golfing, during church golf basketball, during church softball. Did I call it golf basketball? So church basketball, church golf, and church softball. Like if you could have not used it then, I would let you in on this side of the gates. But unfortunately, you'll have to stay on the outside. So anyway, I'm at Parade Park. I'm playing ball. And this guy, for some reason, he's like, I'm next or something. So he's coming on. And you'll understand why part of the story is it's convoluted. And this ending part is not convoluted. So let's just say this. I'm there. A guy shows up to play and we're running, but we just happen to be running shirts. So other team is skins and he's like, fine. So he takes his shirt off and then he takes his handgun out of his waistband and he wraps it up in his t-shirt and then he sets it down. Well, I believe this was probably the tallest guy there. which is why I assume that or look the most athletic. Sometimes looks can be deceiving. But anyway, I picked him up defensively. So he picked me up defensively as well. So we were guarding each other. I will tell you, I was not shy about calling a foul. And I would tell people exactly what the fuck they did. I'd be like, no, and you touched me, what, and I'm going to tell this story too, and it has nothing to do with this. So anyway, I didn't call a single foul that whole game. And I remember distinctly one time he hammered the shit out of me. And the ball went out of bounds. I just turned, I started going back down court, and he's like, are you not going to call a foul? I was like, nah, you barely got me. Yeah, well, I was going to tell another story, but here's the good thing. I forgot it. Probably. It was something about basketball. I think it was about Florida basketball for some reason, but I don't know why. Yeah. So let me tell you also about what type of dick I can be as well. So sometimes you would get people that were just fucking overly aggressive. And I didn't mind that, but sometimes they thought that they could be aggressive physically and you might back down to them. Well, that typically wouldn't happen. But here's one thing I did love about Florida. So I lived in South St. Pete Beach. Paso Grill is where I lived, and south of the Don Cesar. And down on Paso Grill Beach, right across from the beach, there's like courts, and there's a basketball court, and you could play at night, which was a lovely time to play. So for 25 cents, when it was there, because this was often like stolen, idiots, because the coins actually drop down into a vault, not into the arm, and they would cut the arm off. So a quarter would buy you 15 minutes of light. So you could drop a quarter and turn it, and so you could have light at night. And we would play there. I'm sure the neighbors that weren't too far away really enjoyed the 4 a.m., 2 a.m. basketball game. But I will tell you, besides being really humid, it was very refreshing as well. Sometimes even cold. Anyway. So I used to play there. We would play skin. So this was a predominantly white. Okay, because it was a beach in the summer. There just weren't a lot of black people on Paso Grill Beach in the 80s and 90s during this time. So anyway, I am on Paso Grill, and I think I actually like tweaked my back, and this is how it started. But I found out it was very effective. If you still play pickup basketball and you just want to be a total dick to someone, you can use this, and you're welcome in advance. So I had to put icy hot on my back, like a Bengay, like what do they call it? An analgesic. I just like saying anal. Like I know I'm 57, but I can't say analgesic without emphasizing anal and then making some weird face. And I know it's weird because I can't feel half my face. So it may just be naturally weird. Anyway, I put it on my lower back. Well, a person that would guard me, they would hand check you. So they'd be touching you. Well, we're playing in fucking Florida in the summertime, and it's hot as shit. So you're sweating. So then you'd wipe the sweat out. Well, then I would see the people going, and their eyes would be all burning red. And then they'd be they didn't know what it was. So I would fucking slather the shit out of my back with that stuff. And when people hand check me, a couple people called me on it because evidently it's quite aromatic. But people called me on it a couple of times, and I just said, well, don't fucking hand check me then. There we go. Because I think if we actually go to the physical book of rules for the game of basketball, which the NBA has, I guess all basketball has totally abandoned. But back in the 80s and 90s when rules were rules, I don't believe hand checking was actually a legal part of the game. Okay, let's see. I'm going to get to here. I know this is episode. I'm just reading at this point because I got to read. I got to get back to my other notes, which, yeah. I know this episode is unapologetic, but I need to apologize to Bobby. She had no chance. Oh, that's for Bobby. She did it. I mean, I'm going to do this. I forgot. So I have actually prepared. I'm going to let that sink in for a minute. I'm not going to go silent here because it'll probably edit it out. But I actually got the coat. I have the coat here that I wore the night I met Bobby. Okay. And you will see on me, I am the same exact size. And Bobby will tell you this. I am literally, actually, I'm not. I'm a little bit heavier than I was when we first met. So you can see how big this jacket is. And the size of the jacket is not the issue here. So you're going to need, if you are not viewing this podcast visually, then I don't know how you would view it any other way. If you are not watching this podcast, I will give you a brief second to get to the monitor, get to your screen to watch this. So this is the jacket that I was wearing when I met Bobby. I'm also going to point out the copious amount of blood that is still stained on the inside of the jacket. And I will only tell you this. And I'm just thinking about this because I think Christmas Vacation may have come out before this accident. But if you've seen the movie Christmas Vacation, when Clark gets on the sled and it takes off, that is basically what happened to me. It was not a disc like that. It was a food court tray from Metcalf South Shopping Center, which is no longer around. And I did return the tray. So I didn't steal it. I just borrowed it for an evening. They were fast as fuck. I mean, obviously, because of the blood. So I'm going to keep talking so it doesn't like edit this out. Who's calling me during a show? Why do I have my ringer on? Sorry about that. Spam detected. So here's the jacket. I'm going to keep talking. I'm going to try to put it on as well. This is what I had on when I met Bobby. And one other thing. I will say at 57, when I stand up, I don't think that took us looks too bad. Okay, here we go. Let's see. So this was the jacket that I was wearing when I met Bobby. And if you're like, hey, Ro, that looks a little big. Yeah, I'm 20 pounds heavier than I was when we met. When we met, I was like at my lowest when I got out of the hospital here. That's where I was when we met, 155. And then I've usually stayed around 157 because of Bobby's wonderful cooking. Or excuse me, 175. So if you, does it look like you could fit another person into this jacket? Yeah. And does the lovely with a knife in his mouth, and it's, you know, if it was a pirate with a knife in his mouth, that would be scary. But he's winking. Bruce is winking here. So this actually is based on the pirate Captain Morgan. That's who it's actually based on, but they call him Bucko Bruce because of the bucks and for a little alliteration. So, and this color is called creamsicle. And I don't know if you can, it's on this side or there's probably on both sides. Yeah, there's blood all the way down and then still down there. And then, so it was a hospital. It involved a hospital and doctors. So I'll take that off. But yeah, so here's, shoot, that was a light. Gosh darn, if I just had people for this. So anyway, that jacket, Bobby still went home with me. Can you imagine? That's how good looking I was back then. And I'm unapologetic about this. That's how good looking I was. I overcame that fucking jacket. And I had already shaved my head at this point. I mean, shaving my head should have made me undesirable, but I wasn't. So like I said, it was me, Charles Barkley, and Michael Jordan basically shaving our heads in 1993 is when I started shaving mine. I've told this story before. I made money of OnlyFans was, I mean, I don't think rubbing someone's head, maybe it is a thing. I should look into that. So when I was a bartender at Bennigan's, some girls came in, they were waiting for they were going for a bachelorette party. And I've told this story before, but if you haven't listened to 300 plus shows, what are you doing? Listen to the show and then go back and listen to Mitch's show that we put out today and then start going back. Okay. If this is your starting point. What was I saying? See, it's just going so fast. I was unapologetic about something. Doesn't matter. My life is unapologetic. And I've been looking at the clock today because I've been writing down times because some people may be interested in that I may have mentioned them. So I'm going to let them know. But to get back to the coat, I overcame the coat. Okay. Bobby saw like that literally. Like, seriously, if you had that coat, like if you could like do a Photoshop and put it on like Brad Pitt or George Clooney or I don't know, actually Jason Smith. And I'm doing that one more for my wife. Like, I know that would be her first question. I already know Bobby, and I'm fine with this. See, this is the other thing too. After 29 years, I am fine with this. I think I would have always been fine because, like I said, I do what I want to do. The only competition is me. And I know I just combined two Megan Thee Stallion lyrics there. But I mean, so Jason Smith would be there. And I was going to say, so Bobby's first thought would be, well, does he have the jacket on without a shirt? So I know, Bobby, I get it. That's all right. Or should I say, that's all right. I know that was horrible. I know that wasn't good. Like, I'm not good. I'm good at a lot of things. Like, I'm good at the important things. Like, if you ask Bobby, like if you said, is he better at accents or sex? I'm not going to answer her, but I'm going to assume, due to the frequency, veracity, and experiments that these last 29 years have provided for us, I'm going to say that she thinks I'm better at sex. I don't know that for 100%, but I'm going to, if I am, like, I'm trying. So hopefully that's her answer. Let's see, before we move to another page, because we need to do that because, and this actually leads into it. I was going to say, I think we're going to talk about Black women, which I almost said was my second favorite thing to talk about besides my wife. But then I remembered that I had kids. And I don't know what the trombone was. So let's see. What else do I have? Anything? Have I filled out all these notes? Yeah. Oh, and that's funny too. So like there seems to be like the Harold Pinner's Kangol hat wearing, whatever Bobby saw in me, whatever I was presenting to her, she seemed to like. But if you ask her, she would be a buckle bunny. She would have totally been a buckle bunny. Yeah. I mean, that's what happens when you go up in a place called Wichita, Kansas. And if you're like, never heard of it. Okay. And even if you have heard of Wichita, point it out on a map. I live in Kansas. And the only reason I can point it out on a map is because my in-laws live there, or my grandparents live there, and my in-laws live there, and I'm a genius. Probably should have led with genius, but I didn't. Sorry. Okay, so twerking, remember that? Let me tell you this. The first thing about twerking is, like, show me how you twerk. The first thing I'm going to look at is not your butt, is going to be your hand. Most people, and when I say most people, white girls specifically, you're holding your hands wrong. Like, if you ever watch the hands, watch someone that can twerk and doesn't twerk and watch how they have their hands placed. Yeah. I should do a short about that. But when I see twerking, there's nothing short going on. I was talking about my penis, but I'm not really like that. So let's see. Any other notes on this one? Okay, so I'm going to mention this. I've never been apologetic about my height either. I love 6'5". I love 195 centimeters. That didn't sound right. I actually just saw a reel, and if I can find it again and share it, it's a guy, and there's no difference between 6'2" and 6'4", and he's like, what? And he was so upset, and it's hilarious. But I say it all the time, and I also say this. So I believe the artist is Russ, and there was a song. The video stars Tiffany Haddish, and I don't remember the name of the song. But there's a line in it where he goes, I'm 5'6", which you can tell very clearly from the video that he's 5'6", but the money make me 6'5". So once again, he's 5'6", but to have like just this presence about you, he needed the money. Like, so here I am at 6'5". So I'm the, and then people like Bobby goes, oh, money's going to follow. Because we were both still young. I mean, ish. She was young. I was young-ish. And there was always that potential. Like, I was like the shiny rock that ended up being not a turd. I'm not a turd, but like someone who's 5'6" is going to need money to make them 6'5". So I just look like I'm 6'5". I don't like the money. Like, if I had money. So here's the thing. If you're 5'6", the money can make you 6'5". If you're 6'5", the money only makes you more appealing. And the reason I'm doing this sad trombone, that's for Bobby. Like, I know that there is a lot of potential in me, besides other things. And I keep trying to tell her, like 29, this is our 29th anniversary of me saying, this is the year. And I mean, so here's what I've amended that statement to. This is either going to be the year that we make it big, or it's going to be the year I die. And I think that trombone was actually for me this time. Anywho, anyhow, anyway, let's see. Can I turn, because I really want to talk about Black women. Oh, here's another thing, talking about height. So I was watching one of my favorite artists. Once again, who cares about the words coming out of my mouth? How am I treating you or others? Like, here's the thing. Like when I say, if you're 5'6", and I grew up during the time of Spud Webb playing in the NBA, okay? And if you don't know who Spud Webb is and just think it's a funny name, he played in the NBA and he's like 5'5" or 5'6", and actually won the dunk contest because he's 5'5" or 5'6". I still like, so here's what I would do. If I was at my pickup game at Parade Park and I got next and I'm looking for the four I'm going to run with. If I see Spud Webb on the side of the court, no fucking way I ask him. Doesn't matter. People can vouch for him, say he's a baller. I don't give a shit. That guy played in the NBA. Don't give a flying fuck shit. Even if he dunked, like if I saw him dunk and I'm like, that's pretty fucking awesome. My thing is, how often is he going to be able to do that in our game? Probably zero. The chance of him being able to drive the lane, especially in a game that doesn't have any referees. Because if you're 6'5", you do not want to be dunked on by someone who's 5'5". So you will prevent that from happening. Sorry, people that are 5'5" that it can dunk on someone else that's 5'5" or 5'7". Anywho, anyhow, anyway, I loved Too Short. And I'm looking at the clock now because it's 1:10 because I want to, for my cousin Heather. So she bought a Too Short tape. I believe this story is correct because I've told it for years, so I could be making it up. Too Short tape at Kmart. And this is when they were figuring out the whole explicit advisory, all that. And it was just easier to bleep the words out. Now, I don't know if you're aware of Too Short and the verbiage that he uses in many of his songs, especially like the song Take My Bitch. If you were to listen to it and you were to censor the actual, like if you were to some of the words there, it would sound like fucking Morse code. Like you would think his boat was about to drown. And I don't know what I just did in Morse code. It was probably something. Maybe it was nothing. I hope it wasn't like, suck my dick. I mean, actually, I don't care. If I'm sending that out in Morse code, I hope Bobby knows Morse code. I think I'm calling it Morse code when it's Morse. I will tell you, don't care. I'm unapologetic about not caring. Anywhere Too Short. Loved his music. Loved it then, loved it now, loved it all anytime in between. Two things I've noticed. So he is in a group called Westmore, I think, with Snoop Dogg, Ice Cube, and I can't fucking think of who the last person is. So, and that's not on me, that's on them. If they were, but there was a part in the video, at the beginning of the video, they're on a spaceship and they just announced their destination as planet Snoopiter. And honestly, as a stoner, if I'm going to a planet, Snoopiter sounds pretty good. And he said all the bitches were blue. And I've never seen Avatar because I'm not a nerd. I've never seen Avatar, but I am not opposed to, like, I think Bobby and I have this thing. Like, I could have sex with an alien, but we have to prove that it's an alien. I would assume blue skin, and we could probably Google WebMD really quick. I would assume blue skin would allow me to go, this is an alien, or someone who's very ill. I guess, and the way that we would know is if, like, 10 days later I got sick and died, not an alien, just someone with weird case of jaundice. And I keep wiping my nose because I can't feel the right side of my nose, or the right side of my face. Like right now, I'm picturing Bobby's breast against my right face. No, I'm picturing it again. I mean, I can't feel it. So that way I can, it's right there, but I can't. And I probably wouldn't, my peripheral vision is fucked. I mean, like I don't know how close you could be. I mean, so here, regardless, and we've been talking about height and size, because a lot of times, like, you're not going to have extremely long arms if you're a guy who's 5'3". You're not going to have arms my length. That'd be weird if you did. They would probably drag on the ground, and you're probably going to have to shave all of your body hair just to be certain that people don't call you a chimp because you're 5'3" and you have 6'5" arms. I mean, come on, do the math. What was I saying? Okay, I need to get to the other. I haven't even started talking about the black woman yet, which once again, actually, I don't know where that's going. Let's see. Anything else? Tupac. But yeah, so there's the last thing from this page. Okay, so the last thing from this, and that's why it's blue. So it's supposed to be after this. So Too Short. Let me finish with Too Short. Probably not the way I want to phrase it. I don't give a shit. So Too Short does a song with Lil Duval, not Little Duval, as you white people thought I said, Lil Duval. And so like these women are walking by, and one of the girls walks by, and Lil Duval says, "I love to climb trees." And I'm like, she did not even look that tall. But I'm like, no one's ever wanted to be too short. That's literally what I wrote down first. And then I had to go, except Lil Duval. Because like Lil Duval is shorter than someone who's named Too Short. Because littler short or Lil Shorter, that would have been a good one. I mean, that's like the white band Better Than Ezra. I'm almost positive there was a band named Ezra, and these guys were just dicks, and they were like, "We're better than you were," and then they named themselves Better Than Ezra. I think they played rock and roll back in the 80s and 90s, but I don't know that. I just thought it was, if there's no Ezra, how can you literally justify that you were better than them? I'm just saying. So, but anyway, I was like, who has ever wanted to be too short? Lil Duval. I just called him Little Duval. Lil Duval. Okay, so now I have to go back to these other. Okay, so these were just some notes on, and I may have mentioned this on yesterday's, because I had written down, if I did and you didn't listen to yesterday's pop-up show, still listen to it. I think it was good. I don't fucking know. Actually, it was. It was about people to have in your life and people not to have in your life, who to fight for and who's not worth fighting for. So I had written down to white girls. Remember, I was from the very affluent suburbs. Like our zip code was probably top 10 most affluent zip codes. And I'm not saying that because my parents were cheap as they were very cheap. Like we had roll up windows when the technology for power windows in a car had been around for a long time. We were still, my dad hated when when the option for air condition in a car went away. And if you're like, what do you mean air condition in a car went away? There is actually a time where you could save money, about $800, which would be like $50,000 in today's money. But there was a time where you could get a car that had no air conditioning, AM-only radio, pull-up windows, and I believed in the late 80s, those were called Suzuki Samurais. I was so offended, and I get sidetracked. So I was dating a girl in the dot. So once again, I stand out. So predominantly black neighborhood. I don't really remember. I was near KCK, not too far off Parallel out, whatever. So anyway, I used to go, there was like a Hardee's that I used to go to when it wasn't one girl that I was seeing in that vicinity, but I would always go to this one Hardee's, and I had sold my Jeep, which I had a big lifted Jeep, nice fucking Jeep Laredo. It was a 1985 CJ7, beautiful. It was in a lot of car shows after I sold it. It was beautiful. The alloy, 33-inch tire. It was a beautiful Jeep. And I sold it and I bought a BMW and hated it. And like when I say I hated it, it's an understatement. And it was less to do about the car than it was at that point. It was, I bought it because I think some people were talking in my ear. I lived in Johnson County. I could buy this car, and I did. And I was not happy, but I went to, I had a Jeep, a lifted Jeep, fucking big tires. I mean, it was a beast of a Jeep. And I bought a BMW 530i, and a little bit bigger than the 528e. It was a 530i. And I went to, the first time I went to the Hardee's after that, the young lady there, she said, "Hey, you got rid of your Samurai." And I was offended. Like, I usually don't get offended, but I was like, it was a Jeep. And I'm sure by the way I said it, she could tell that I was offended. Because I was like, that's like, I don't know. That's like, this, you don't do that. That is not something that you do. So for the white girls, that probably I will say this, the BMW didn't hurt. And the Dot or the 816 either. So it did not hurt. I almost said an 813, which was a different time. 813 is my hometown of Tampa. 913 is my growing up home of Kansas City, Kansas side, Overland Park. So let's see. So if I already said this, then still listen to yesterday's show. And you've heard this twice. It's so good. You should hear it twice. The girls thought I was like Tupac Shakur. Like if you ask, like white girls, he's like, I mean, that's what, when they were describing me, like white version of Tupac Shakur is probably, like I said, so the whole, so back in the 80s, and I said this, growing up at a predominantly white high school, and I talked to Hamad about this yesterday, we had like a school of like 1,300 for 3 years. I just put up 4 for 3 because I just noticed I couldn't do that. So for 3 years, we'll do that. So for 3, we only had 3 years, sophomore through senior. And I think we had like 1,200 students. And I think we had 4 or 5 during our 3-year shift. That's the most people of color that we had at one time. We tried to name them, which is really sad when you have a class of 500 and you're like, can I name the 4 people? And very difficult. And it was funny how often we'd be like, oh, yeah, so-and-so. But I feel like that's how I was described. So to the parents, I'm sure that when they saw the way I dressed and the way that I act, they probably pictured Bobby Brown, because their kids probably wouldn't turn off a Bobby Brown video in front of them. But these white kids in the suburbs definitely would have turned off a Tupac Shakur video. And honestly, and Bobby I was just doing that with my face because I believe I think Bobby would agree, shaking her head, that when she met me, if you wanted to know what I was like, the song I Get Around by Tupac Shakur, the video, if you watch that video, that would best describe the Roe that Bobby met in 96. And if you see that and here in 2024 and you're like, but Roe, you're this white guy and this, that, whatever. I'm just saying, we are who we are. I wrote, people from the hood thought I was Johnny Kemp. So the people that I would hang out with and stuff, like when we would go out, like I would show. So if you don't know who Johnny Kemp is, great song. I Just Got Paid. Actually, it's called Just Got Paid by Johnny Kemp. You should watch that. And so that's what my Black friends and acquaintances, I almost said girlfriends, but then Bobby would be mad because she'd be like, oh, they're girlfriends, but I was a friend. This goes back to a story. So friends and friends, there we go. Have that out. So I was just trying to differentiate different groups of the population that I was referencing. And I don't know so when I met Bobby, I was Tupac Shakur. I do not know what, I think because that was going to sound weird. Sometimes this is Bobby's problem also with me and my problem with myself. Is I often will say stuff out loud and they sound like weird and probably needs some context to it. Because I was going to say, I think about these two Black women frequently, and I don't frequently think about them. A few times a year, probably. I don't think that's an overabundance. I couldn't tell you what they look like. I couldn't tell you anything about them. I will tell you this, my guess is they were hot. And if you're like, why would you say that? Well, first of all, hot people will generally approach hot people. And if you're like, are you saying that you were hot, Rodney? I'm saying, yeah, I am. So anyway, so they would approach, and they're pretty bold. I mean, there's a reason that my body count is the number that it is in the 4 digits. And I shouldn't say that because 1,300. So that sounds like when I talk about being in Mensa, I barely got in. 136 is barely in. You got to have a minimum 132, so barely in. So when I say my body counts in the 4 digits, everyone's like, oh my God, 9,000. No, it was 1,300. So ask my wife, that doesn't make it any better. And this is one thing that I know that we've had, I know that bothers Bobby. And I have said in the past that, how many girls have I been with since you and I met? And she said 0. And I go, and how many sexual diseases did you get from me? And I always say this is one of the funniest things she ever said. She said 1. And I was shocked because I'm like, what the fuck? Because I know that I did not give her any sexually transmitted diseases. But then she said Mo, which is our oldest. And I guess that would be, while not a disease, it is something like a chronic illness. A child is like a chronic illness. A lot of times, they're really good, but a lot of times it's just So, but they came up to me. So you're going to have known Kansas City in the late 70s, 80s, and 90s. So I was working at a place called Coda's. I was a manager at Coda. And it was weird because now that I think about this, so I was the only white person that worked there. Our clientele was not white. But it was funny because all of the mannequins at that time, and this is so racist, all of the mannequins, even though they didn't have any color or anything, they had hair. Even though this is a style not catering, well, no one was bald. So maybe it didn't matter then. No, but they had hair then. Because now a lot of mannequins don't have hair, I think. Anyway, after I quit, I would go back to visit people and they said they would dress the mannequins like me. And that was the first time I really took note of my dress. I'm like, that's how I dress? I mean, I was doing okay, so I guess it didn't matter. I mean, if I wasn't doing okay, I would have changed my behavior, style, dress, or attitude. Luckily, I needed to change none of those things. So these 2 Black women come up to me in the mall. I'm on a break. I'm walking to the food court or whatever. And they're not shy, quiet about this. And they're like, so this is how the conversation goes. One of the things that I love being about a genius or someone of high intellect is one reason you can point them out very quickly is often they are very quick-witted. I mean, fucking lightning fast. Sometimes so fast, normal people don't even know what just hit them, which makes it even funnier. So these women come up to me and they stop me and they say, hey, we need to know, are you Black? And sometimes that could be, oh, we're just trying to check. The way that they said it, their body language, the way that they presented themselves, this was like a side note. This was like a reason to come talk to me. The side note was the color of my skin. So my immediate response without missing a beat was, well, here's the deal, ladies. I don't know. I was adopted. But quite honestly, I've seen myself play basketball. I've seen myself dance and I've seen myself naked. So I could be Black. And they laughed hysterically. Now, I don't know if you remember earlier when I said women tend to say sense of humor. That's what we want most. Sense of humor works out very well. And sometimes using the sense of humor can lead you, it will bypass. That can be step 1. And you can, it's like chutes and ladders. So while most people, their life is not ladders, it's chutes. So they just roll the dice. If you don't know what chutes and ladders is, it was a game back in the 70s, maybe the 60s, maybe before that. Chutes and ladders. My kids played it. I don't know if it's still around. I don't know if people do that. Chutes and ladders. I've mentioned it 3 times. I feel like I should get some sort of monetary compensation from them. Anyway, I think most of your lives, most people, and I'm not speaking about you, and you had to be watching to see if I winked. I'm going to actually have to watch to see if I wink because I'm not sure. Most people's lives are just shoots. Like you'll be going up through life and I went from 27 down to 4. I thought I was almost at the finish line and I went back to 0 again. My life, for whatever reason, seems to be ladders. However, the ladders are not like, they don't go from like 3 to 51. They go from like 3 to 4. That would be like a sidestep more thinking of the game board, but you get the point. So, anyhow, I showed you that jacket. I overcame that jacket. I mean, not only, so first of all, think about that jacket I had on again. I may take a picture and put that on Instagram so that when you're scrolling through and your significant other thinks you're looking at someone else, you can be looking at this jacket. Think about two things. Think about how amazing, charming this person had to be to convince you in that jacket to go home within 3 hours of them. Man, what a salesperson. Or how much alcohol you consume that night. Now, there have been jokes that Bobby's eyes at the end of the night look like X's. That's why we didn't have sex the first night. So that could have very well, maybe I didn't hear that part. Maybe I was so like, you're hot. And she's like, take me home. I can't stand up. So maybe in retrospect, when I give it more thought, but I always err on the side of Rodney. Like I am always, whatever is best for me, that's what I'm going to do. Like that jacket. Like if I would have known Bobby, like I knew there was going to be a 6'1" blonde girl there. Now I'm going to speak to most men out there, most people out there, whatever. If you just say, hey, sketch me a picture or like find me a picture of a girl who's 6'1", even though it's only like a headshot. And you're like, well, how do you do this? Well, I want that like big dick energy. This is like 6'1" energy for a woman. So you flip through. Typically, not all, because like I said, Bobby probably cracks the top 10 in height at 6'1", but she's not in the top 5 of tallest girls I've dated. So, and like I've also said, I was never with someone less than an 8. So here's two things. If you were ever with me, congratulations, because you were at least an 8. And I'm going to let that maybe that clapping is because thank God I wasn't. I mean, like as lucky as I think Bobby was about having me put a seat in her, there are probably lots of people that were punching themselves on the stomachs for a month or two. Oh, I'm sorry. Was that joke too? And here's the thing. Like the genius people, they got it. The stoner people, they're just now getting that joke. I mean, they're like a couple minutes behind. 30 seconds behind. And then the rest of you are like now offended by that joke. Unapologetic? Did I just tie that in? Yeah. So, and then I wrote down after that story about the women at Bannister Mall, I wrote down, did my confidence come from Black women? I was not, this can sound however it wants. I was in the company of many Black women. That even sounded, I was trying to make that sound less bad, and somehow I think I made it sound worse. Whatever. I felt pretty fucking good. Yeah. I was always very, so here's the rest of the story. So now you see me. Like, I'm going to post a picture of me and Morgan. Morgan as a child. So when Trinity was getting born, and I know I've said this at least once in the 400 shows I've done, Morgan was excited about Trinity coming, and Morgan was 4, almost 5 at this time, and was coloring, and I got to find some of her pictures. So every picture that she colored, she used like, I don't know what the color, like regular Caucasian. Let's just say, I don't know if that's actually color. It should be Caucasian. And then I was not Black, but I will have to ask what Morgan, she'll have to go through the color box and find the crayon box to find out what color I was. But it was on the darker scale. You know, even when I was light, I was dark. But the women, when they approached me at Bannister Mall, I had, so like here, like the picture I'm going to post with Morgan, we do not look like we're the same color. We were in Texas. We were staying in a house that had a pool. I didn't have anything to do all day, so I literally was spending 8 hours a day next to the pool. We went to eat at Chewy's in Austin, and we took a picture out front. When you see the picture, you'll understand why our child would always draw me at a much darker shade. But she would ask whether the baby was going to be dark like daddy or white like mommy. In retrospect, because Trinity has my nose, my height, everything, then I'm 99% sure that she's mine, but maybe Morgan knew a daddy that I didn't know. Let's see. Anything else I have there? Because I want to get off this page. I'll tell you this. Talking about streaking with a big dick, you're going to have to listen to the Mitch Gold episode that also came out today, or I don't know the date. So if you're listening to this in the future, then congratulations on conquering time travel. But we talk about streaking. I don't think big dick necessarily came up, but here's the deal. When you go streaking, if you are a person that is not conscious about their health and may be of average size or below average size, like I say, I would not consider myself to have a large dick. I would consider myself to have a penis that is very appropriate. The size of my penis is very appropriate for someone who is 6'5". Now, if you put this on someone who is 5'6", I was thinking swap it, but even if I just laid it on their chest for some reason, it's still going to look fucking huge. Okay. So once again, I don't consider it huge. I just consider it it's very appropriate for someone my size, but that may also be when we're streaking, back then you didn't have your cell phone. I just thought about this. You didn't have a cell phone in your pocket. So by the time that they got inside to make any sort of call, and this is probably right around when 911 came out. For you all that are real young, that don't understand this, there was a time called the 1970s and before, and probably the 1980s, because I know this happened in the 80s. I'm sure we had 911. But when I was little, we had to memorize a phone number for the police station. It was not 911. There was literally a different phone number. And guess what? Fire station, different phone number. Yeah, we had to know both those. Yeah. And it's not beep, beep, beep. No, it's deek, deek. Why couldn't it be 111? That seems like that would have been a lot smarter. And if you're talking about just the efficiency during an emergency situation, it seems like 111 would have been much better, but maybe you can't do 111. I don't know. My book's tearing. I'm really putting some damage on this book, which is something Bobby's never said. Bobby is reading a lot more, but I will tell you the first 27 years, and she will tell you this, she was not a big book person. Last couple things. Let's see. Is that going to be better on a different show? Probably not. Yeah. Yeah. Man, that's going to be, I'm going to leave that one. I will talk about this. So I'm going to talk about, I have always loved being ambidextrous. And mostly that was due to my parents. They forced me into my ambidexterity. Because they even told me, my dad was like, I didn't know how I teach someone how to throw left-handed or bat left-handed. So I had to teach myself to be a switch hitter. And even though it was later, in high school, when I teach myself how to throw left-handed as well, efficiently, I was very accurate. I just wasn't as strong. I mean, because I'd already had 10 years of playing Little League ball, but I loved it. I mean, I tell the story of Miss Gilman's class in 6th grade. I went to the chalkboard and she's like, I thought you were left-handed. And I was like, I am. And I switched and just kept going. And I didn't even give it a thought, which is probably there are probably people who are like, that's weird as fuck. I mean, I would think that. Yeah. But here's the thing. So because I would consider myself, only because I write, because like I say, if I was doing physical labor pre-stroke, I would have called my right side my stronger side, but I would have called my left side my dominant side. Another weird thing about me, thinking about having two halves, long guns, rifles, things of that nature, I shoot right-handed. Pistols, short barrels, I shoot left-handed. And if you think that Yeah, that's a big fucking deal. Okay. So, and I don't know why. I didn't notice that for the longest time. And I knew my ability. I knew that I was ambidextrous and could do things, but I remember when I was qualifying with firearms, small firearms, I'd actually just had an unexpected thumb surgery. Was it a sex accident? I don't know. Good chance. If you're making the bet on DraftKings, is one of my injuries sex related? Always lean towards the sex related, unless you're getting really good odds. I don't know how to really do odds, which is weird as a math person. Unless you're getting really good odds, lean that way. But here's the thing. When you've had a stroke like me and it's affected one half of my body, I wish I would have hung to the left. I really do. That would have been very beneficial at this point. But it is what it is. Isn't that a good note to leave everything on? Did I miss anything from the first notes? Okay, so here, there is a funny reel, which if I could find it, I would share it, where it's Phil Dunphy from Modern Family. And he's talking about, I do have a type of woman. I like strong women, but then when he starts naming them off, it was like Michelle Obama. All of them were black. And it was just Condoleezza Rice. And it was just funny. And so I wasn't listening to any set playlists today, which I usually do. Now, granted, a lot of the songs that were given to me or offered to me by the gods, thank you very much, gods, they are very similar. They don't mirror, but they're very similar to the artists that I have on my regular playlist. And I thought that was funny. So it was Eye Candy, Lil Kim, Missy Elliott, Da Brat, Cardi B, Megan Thee Stallion, Flo Milli, Doechii, Lotto, and then I had Bobby Brown, Genuine. Those were the two guys that ended up going in there. And Genuine, when they flooded in, because I will not say, like, you've heard of those silent discos or something where you have headphones where you can listen to your own type of music and someone's listening to something else, so that I think that's the whole premise. I do feel like sexually, like my music, and Bobby has been very gracious about often, if not always, have my music, which I just named off there for you, artists that would be in that group, often is on in the background, just background music. I think my personal belief is it gives you a good rhythm. Anyone that knows anything about dance, you can get good rhythm. In sex, generally, if someone's a good dancer, they're good in bed. That's all I'm going to say. I don't know this for a fact because twerking wasn't around before I met Bobby, but I would assume that here are my things. I think that all twerkers are good at sex, but you don't have to be a twerker to be good at sex. You can be good at sex and not be a twerker, but I think it would be highly improbable that you could twerk and not be good at sex. Or maybe I'm wrong about that. Okay, so I'm going to go listen to more music now. You have now listened to like 4 hours of me during the last 2 days. If you want to understand why Bobby has a job outside of the house and isn't sitting here next to me all the time, these last 4 hours, the last 2 days, they will explain why. And just so you know, whatever version of me you think you're getting, like if you're like, man, he's crazy, the way he talks, you have no idea. Like Bobby can fill you in on that at some point. So there's going to be changes to the studio, not real soon because I've had a stroke and there's going to be changes to some studio. We got more people coming on the show, more interviews. I've had to ramp that up. I had to cancel so many interviews. So I apologize if this hurts you. Actually, I don't. I'm unfucking apologetic. I can't apologize on a show called Unapologetic. So I had booked through December, my calendar. So when I had my stroke, I needed to cancel. We didn't know what was going on. So I literally canceled and I said I'd reschedule. Well, out of those probably 15 or so interviews, I've only rescheduled, I think, 3 of them. And that reason is I had decided post-stroke, I enjoy stories. And I'm not saying there's not things that we can talk about. I'm going to use an example here. So Liv LaRue has been on the podcast. She is a courtesan, high-class call girl, prostitute, whatever you want to call them. Courtesan is what their chosen name of profession. So I had her on the show and we talked about what she did. And now I'm drawing a blank because I had a stroke. I had someone on we recorded right before the stroke. I let it out right after the stroke and now I've drawn a blank. But she worked I feel so bad. She worked at the Moonlight Bunny Ranch or does. And so it was different than what Liv did. And I found that very interesting. But when it got to the parts of the job that were the same, I've already heard that story. And I don't just like, and so it has made me reassess. Like there were a lot of authors that I was interviewing. Well, here's one thing that I found out now is that people, and I understand self-author makes it less expensive. If you do have a great idea, you can get it out to the public more efficiently as a one-man show, a one-person show than you could, back in the day. Musicians have, I think, a good avenue like that as well. That being said, there's a lot of stuff that I had a guy that wrote a book that the title of the book used a term that wasn't even created for the time period that he was setting this in. It wasn't created for like another 60, 70, 80 years. And there's a reason for that and when it happened and everything. And I'm just like, when they told me that, I was just like, and I'm just like, so I have been more hypercritical about who I talk to because for a long time leading up to the stroke, I did not want to do a solo show. I was like, I would say that most of those shows lasted less than an hour. Even though I used to be able to talk, obviously, for 2 hours, I just couldn't do it anymore. And now I feel like whatever I have to say, even if it's just for myself, it's more important than. So here's the deal. If you're coming on my show, I am very selective. So while I am not going to sleep with you, unless you offer me millions upon millions of dollars, and I would talk to Bobby about that because like my 401k is. So anyhow, anyway, I'm not going to sleep with you, but consider yourself like an 8, 9, or 10. Okay. Because if I have selected you, like there's this podcast, guest something. It's a website where you can find guests for podcasts. And like every 8 months to a year, they'll let you feature podcasts. Well, that's coming up for me again soon. And I've always had outstanding, like they've been shocked, like how often, like how many responses I get. And I'm going to be hypercritical this time. So generally I would say I got 80 responses. They would post it in their newsletter. I would get 80 responses from people that wanted to be on the show. Maybe between 30 and 40 of them I'd reach out to for initial contact. Maybe 20 to 25 of them would actually get booked. Okay. Maybe a little higher than that because if you made it through the first round, there was a good chance you would make it. But I'm going to be hypercritical. So I'm going to do, these are called pop-ups, pop-up nooners. It's just going to be nooner. Currently, it's going to be pop-up nooner. That's going to be fine. I mean, if you're going to have a proper nooner, I was going to say a pop-up probably needs to be involved, but I have not seen enough. I know what scissoring is to know that a pop-up is not needed for a nooner. You're welcome. You're welcome. Anyway, so now you've listened to me for 4 hours and 2 days. Yeah. And then I even have regular shows come out. I will try to keep quiet till next week. I am not saying I can do it. I mean, there's still a Wednesday, Thursday, Friday left. I'm almost positive I won't do a second show today. Friday, I'm doing a show with someone from jolly old England. I know that wasn't a good British accent either. And if Jason's made it all the way to the end of this, I apologize. I mean, I literally apologize for that attempt. That's why I don't want to name. Like, I just want to do an accent and whatever you think that is. And if you think it's nothing, it's nothing. I'm fine with that too. I know let's say this, I'm going to ask Jason, I'm going to ask Jason to do that. Not with me and probably not with Bobby. And here's the reason, because A, she's my wife. And B, if you're changing out of your English accent, Jason, I think you're going to be woefully less appealing to my wife. That being said, like if you used a different accent, like if I'm banging my wife, but using like, I was going to say a British accent, but that's too much in Jason's wheelhouse. So I'm not going to say that. Like, I don't know. I don't know. See, I'm not good at accents. I was going to say like a Japanese accent or a Chinese accent, but I am 100% sure if I start speaking in a Chinese accent to Bobby, I will have experienced the last time I ever have sex with Bobby. You guys are welcome. What? I'm playing the music. I'm walking it off. This is like a walk-off before 2 hours gets here. And of course, when it does its editing, it's going to edit this show down to like, I don't know, an hour and a half. But that's all right. I'm unapologetic. Fight for your right. I was going to say to party like Twisted Sister, but just fight for your rights. If you feel like, okay, fucking A. I'm going to add something here on the end. So I'm going to take this up to 2 hours probably. I don't know. This is how we got Morgan. I'm telling you. Like I thought outtakes where you're not having to pay for it. Oh, speaking of which, subscribe, do notifications so you get your nooners when you want a nooner. I'm telling you, there's nothing like a nooner. Like, it is well past noon here now. But if Bobby called and said, I can't tell if there's still a blizzard going on. If she said, I'm coming home for a nooner, I would be waiting in bed. I wouldn't have a boner yet for a couple of reasons. A, she's not there yet, so no reason to have the boner. And B, I've had a stroke. Thank you all for listening to the podcast. My name's Ro. I just saluted for no reason. I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.